I love that farm, and it's still there. The real Sarah and her family were from the coast of Maine, and she was my mother's step-grandmother. Sometimes you write a book based on a sentence or two, a face, a landscape, a phrase, a question. And I have just begun a novel based on a song that my 6-year-old granddaughter Sophia learned in music school to teach scales. I said I wouldn't sing it again. I sang it last night, but here goes. Birdies fly away and they come back home. Birdies fly away and they come back home. Fly away, all the birdies fly away. Birdies fly away and they come back home. Now actually, my 20-month-old grandson sings the middle part in tune, even though he says no words in life. He can sing. Did you like that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Scale, mind you.
We have a spot for you.
I began Sarah plain and tall when my mother had Alzheimer's disease and she was losing her memory and about to lose her words. I wrote the entire book as a picture book so that I could hand it to her like a little poem she could hold in her hands, a gift while she still could read. And I wrote it out of 2 small things she had told me. 1, the dogs loved Sarah first, and 2, and of course, the children loved her. I can hear my mother's voice as I say this. And of course, it was Jane Yolen, that evil twin of mine in my writer's group, who said, this isn't a picture book, this should be a novel. So I remember throwing the manuscript on the floor, how immature, and bursting into tears, how immature, because I wanted it to be over, but then I had to do what all of us do, rewrite. So, I think of my books, even the landscapes, as family, and I always have. And ever since that day with my mother on the prairie, staring at her footprint where I'd rather think I stand today, I carry this little bag of prairie dirt with me. It gets me into a lot of trouble at airports. To remind me of the place that I knew first, and that I always try to bring back somehow, and that I miss. There are too many trees in New England. Many, too many trees. And it is no surprise that I've just finished a novel about my father, that wonderful man, called Kindred Souls, about a grandchild building his beloved grandfather a sod house that he misses so much. My father was born in a sod house, and I'm just going to read you the beginning. If I brought it, I couldn't have forgotten it. I forget nothing. It's called The Beginning, The Talk of Birds. My grandfather Billy hears the talk of birds. He tells me the hummingbirds are outside and speak to him in short, brisk sentences while they fly up and down and around the hanging feeders of sugar water. Red-tailed hawk, too, announces Billy at the open window of his room. I hear a high whistle outside. Billy lives with us on the farm that used to be his. You can't see that hawk, I say. Billy smiles. This is our daily joke. He's talking to me, says Billy. Don't need to see him. What's he saying? You're an old man. Good day. Still alive, I see, says Billy. Billy is 88 years old, and I don't worry about him dying. He will live forever. I know that. That red-tail isn't 88 years old, I tell him. You must not have been talking to him all these years. Nope. Talked to his father and mother before him and all his ancestors way back to the first bird of time, says Billy. That's the beginning. But it brings back my father to me. I have my own immediate family, of course. My husband is my first reader. I married a psychologist. My mother was very glad about that. And once, not long ago, he's always writing things in my manuscript margins. He wrote a note that I loved. Patty, you're a damn Jane Austen. I Their questions have started many of my books. Jamie is in publishing now. It's his baby I'm trying to name. He's in Journey, and his favorite book, Baby, is dedicated to him. John began Edward's Eyes and Journey, tough books. My daughter Emily is in many books, as is her funny daughter Sophia. I now write books with my daughter, which is an interesting process. We're used to talking out books over the heads of children, sometimes right there with them, and sometimes we listen to them. Why am I surprised that Emily's and my voices are similar? I shouldn't be surprised, but we can't tell our writing apart sometimes. And I know when it happened. All through school, Emily was a ballet student, and any of you who are parents of ballet students know that it's everyday classes, every weekend classes or performances, and it was going to be her life. She did it every day. She would be a member of a ballet corps somewhere. She didn't care about her grades, and I said, okay, I'm a good mother. She didn't care about college, I said, okay. And then one day, she quit, all on her own. It's not the life I want, she said. And then I could see on her face the knowledge of what she had done. Oh no, she said, I have to get my grades up. I have to take the SATs. And I have to read this whole big stupid book. I can't do that. I can do that, I said. And on that day, I put her under a quilt and read her the entire stupid book, The Odyssey. Word after word, chapter after chapter, putting little risque things in to see if she was awake. Mom, she'd say. And later when she was in college, she told me, you know, when I'm writing, sometimes I hear your voice whispering in my ear. And that is why I think that day under the quilt began it. And I think it is what we as writers do. We're whispering in the ears of our readers. Our oldest son, John, has lived in Africa for 18 years, working with Jane Goodall, taking care of orphan chimpanzees. And the family I call mine grows larger as I follow my children and their children. During a trip to Africa to visit John and his family, I spent my 60th birthday on the beach at Gombe, where Jane Goodall first began her chimpanzee research. I sat on the beach of the lovely Lake Tanganyika in this beautiful country of Tanzania. A huge group of baboons walked up the beach and sat by me to look into my eyes. There were several old baboons who sat on a rock and looked out over the water. They reminded me of my father. And there were mothers and fathers and tiny babies. I was a bit frightened, but John reassured me. They think you're a primate too, John whispered to me, of a slightly higher order, he added. And he taught me how to groom myself, which is very important. In that world of baboons and primates, if the parents are grooming themselves, you've seen them do this in zoos, it's sacred and the babies don't bother them. Nothing bothers them. It's mother or father's time. So he said, please groom yourself because the babies are going to come over and they're going to scream and get scared, and then the big teeth parents will come. So I got very good at this and he went away. And on the plane coming here, a man sat next to me and talked so much to me that I spoke up to him. It's a good skill. But I learned something important about listening in Tanzania. The Tanzanians have a lovely phrase. When they meet on the road or greet you in the morning, they stop and ask, how was the night? Most people don't have telephones, and often something does happen during the night. A birth, a death, an illness. So they stop to hear and listen, and my son has this amazing facility now. No matter where we are or what a hurry we're in, he stops to listen. And that is what connects us to our work. When I do that, I am not disconnected, and you aren't either. So why do I write? I write for the children in Tanzania, just learning English, who greet me on the road to school. Good morning, sir. I write for the glorious baboon families and all those dogs I've written about who love us unconditionally. I write for the children who look up my telephone number on the internet and call me. One night, after coming home from dinner, I saw a light blinking on my answering machine. A soft southern boy's voice said, "My parents went out, so I just thought I'd call you." That happens often. "I love your books," this boy said. "I love what you say. I love what you don't say, too." Did I call him back? You bet I did. This boy from Kentucky, who knows that somehow the writer only has 26 letters of the alphabet to use, and he knows the writer has to decide what words to call forth and which words to cast aside. I write for my family of children who write me letters, you know, Donald, Mary Bridget, who knows all about marriage now, and the infamous Maverick. I write for them. And I write for the children of northern Uganda who I've met, who walk miles holding the hands of their younger siblings to find a safe place to sleep. And for the children of Darfur alone and hungry, and for the children of Israel and Palestine and the Congo, Afghanistan, Sudan, and Iraq. And for all the children anywhere, here or there, who need to see themselves in books. And they are the family I call mine. As my friend Catherine Patterson said, we must learn to love our children more than we hate our enemies. And often they, the children, give me courage and offer me resolve. After the tragedy of September 11th, when all life seemed hard for us, many of us who couldn't write, could not write. We were frozen in some place. A girl called me, hesitant and shy. I answered the phone, and it was late afternoon. "Mrs. MacLachlan," there was a pause. "What I called to find out," she stopped and then gathered courage. "You're still going to write, aren't you, after what happened?" So that girl sent me back to my writing, and I write for her. She is part of the family that I call mine. So remember this, all you fabulous writers. Courage may be frightening, but it is also full of joy and passion and purpose. To be brave is to trust yourself. To be brave is to trust your reader too. So congratulations, and welcome to my family.